Looking forward to a big show this week for Jules and JJ. We go to Flemington, we go to Morphettville Parks. We discuss a few horses that have got some talkability around them that we are against, especially at Flemington. Barracuda got some interesting thoughts there. And we're also going to uncover who won this bad boy after Pin the Tail last week, because I think I might be one up. Hello and welcome to the Jules and JJ show. My name is Julian Balance, joined by James Jordan across from South Australia. First week back we had from a while, JJ, and we shot half the lights out.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good effort for those that were playing at home. Some good stuff, not just with the horses that we liked winning, but some of the price movements that we predicted came true, which was good. So, solid start.
Yep, got to move on though to this week. We're going to start off with the track, not the treak.
Could be a trick. Could be a trick.
Track Intel.
Or the Parks track as well, which is a unique sort of track in that it's fast drying, which is the first thing. It's sand based and it's quite tight turning. So this meeting ahead on Saturday, rails in the true for the first time in a few months. Condition like there's a bit of rain forecast Friday. It'll be in a soft range. It'll probably be around that 7, I would say, but it does drain well. It's not a track that's going to hold the moisture and deteriorate. It generally drains pretty well unless there is rain on race day.
Even in these colder conditions, though, like we've seen through winter, these tracks if this was in spring, you might be a chance to get to a good 4 soft 5.
You'll never get an upgrade as such, but it just won't get sort of boggy and heavy. Yeah. If it rains, on Friday, if you get 12, 15 mils, by Saturday it would have drained through, whereas the outer track so probably wouldn't have. Murray Bridge wouldn't. The Intel, I reckon, it's often fair and true to be truthful. A slight leaning though to the on paces because every now and then, and sometimes hard to predict, it is a heavy advantage to be leading. So I would say a slight leaning to on pace. Not saying there won't be a pattern, but in terms of being able to predict it early, I would say you don't want to do your form with a skew like that. I reckon you'll find yourself some trouble. So slight leaning to on pace, but I think relatively fair. All
right, that's the Morphettville Parks track Intel. Victoria, we are going to be at headquarters, so we are at Flemington now. Out 3 metres the entire circuit. It's a heavy 8 at the moment, but I think Flemington probably get to a soft heavy is where I think we're going to be because there is some rainfall predicted Friday night and possibly through the day on Saturday. So I think you're going to need genuine wet trackers, and I think playing that soft to heavy range, and I don't think we're going to get anywhere near a soft 5 or anything like that. So genuine wet trackers is where I think this track will be. Really interesting here. Not huge impact, say, compared to a Caulfield, which we speak about a lot, but 25 to 35 kilometre westerly wind. Now, that is impactful, and it's actually headwind into the straight at Flemington. So, look, as a starting point for that, you're probably up the straight. We'll probably want a little bit of cover for those races, 1,000 to 1,200 up the straight. The Intel for the straight, usually inside barrier is a little bit of a disadvantage, but with the track condition being the way it is and being wet, inside barrier is okay. So don't be too worried about needing those outside barriers like we usually do up the straight. Circle, forward of midfield, the plus, I think that's where you need to be. Leaders, this is a little bit bizarro work because you don't get this at Flemington too often. Leaders plus. So around the circle, even though they're going to be hitting that headwind first, what you'll see is those horses that go wide up the straight, bang, they hit that 45, 50 kilometre wind straight away into their face and can have impact. So leaders around the circle races, I think, might be an advantage on Saturday. That's the Intel. Next up, it's a new segment. So the key here with the form factors is we're just trying to identify something that we'll look through for the week that we think the market might gravitate towards or what you should be looking for certain horses. This week we're focusing on the wet track edge and where you might need to see some horses where they have, where they'll tighten right up in the market. First one is fit horses. Yep. So horses that are resuming, if they're hitting straight onto a soft or in particular a heavy track, they're still going to have the condition in their legs or in their lungs to be able to get through it, especially in the last 200 metres. So fit horses are the key. Next one, which we love and we talk about a lot, quick backup. We saw last week, tipped Astero in the last at Caulfield, was on the quick 7-day backup. Bang, it gets the job done for us. And the other one we're going to talk about, and then I'm going to throw it over to you, JJ, is apprentices claiming under the minimum weight on those wet tracks. it is one where the market really does gravitate towards. Last one I'm really interested in here because it more or less is saying heavy track form belies the distance. Can you explain that a little bit?
I guess, look, all these factors are important in any type of going, but they become more important on the wet tracks. Horses that are distance queries is obviously a thing across all racing. I reckon when you find a really heavy track, I'm talking like a 9 or a 10, not a 7, a 9 or a 10, horses that swim through that really heavy going, I reckon the distance becomes far less significant in terms of it might be a 1,400 metre horse trying out the mile, and you might ordinarily say, it's a bit of a risk there to run the mile. If it gets through the heavy and loves it, it'll run 1,800. Okay. I don't think it's as important a factor when you're dealing with a horse that is an absolute wet tracker. So it's the fourth of those factors I'd like to mention. But look, they're all obviously important in their own right in terms of all tracks, but when you get to those sort of wet tracks, they certainly get more important.
And look, we know there's plenty of variables that are going to go along with all that, but just they're the four that we're focusing on because we've both got wet tracks. Morphettville obviously going to be around that soft range, and I think soft and heavy for Flemington. So they're the form factors that we have included for this week. Now, let's get to JJ's SA set. All right, JJ, where do you want to start here? I think you're kicking off race 5.
It's a feature. It's a Group 3 for the 2-year-olds, so lightly raced horses. The horse I like here comes over from Victoria.
Well, yes,
obviously. Supercilious. Well, they do have a good record. Supercilious. It's lightly raced. It's had 3 runs. This will be its 4th. It's 3rd up this prep. 1 run last prep. When they have 1 run, they go out. You sort of just maybe shin sore or a bit of education. But this time around, first up run was fair, over 1,000. Wasn't impressive, but it wasn't a sack file. Its next start went to 1,300. The market really liked it. It went to the front for Blake Shin, rolled along and won pretty impressively and rated pretty well. I think he'll sit outside the leader in this race. Probably sit outside a horse like Colmar, who's a South Australian 2-year-old that's been honest, but he's no star. I think he can get the better of that horse. The negative, if I'm finding one, is obviously Victorian horses come over to SA. Unless they bring the rider, they generally lose one. It had Blake Shin last start. Jason Holder's riding pretty well, but it's a negative, to be fair. So that's a little concern, but I think it'll lob outside the leader and be very hard to beat in race 5.
Okay, so that's race 5, number 8, Supercilious.
Yep, I just want to add, there's a horse down the bottom called Stolen Kiss. Seamus Award, 2-year-old, goes 11 to 1,400. It could improve at about that $17 quote. So have something on it as well in race number 5. The next race is race number 6, a horse that's close to your heart, Trumpster, Teflon Don.
Fate.
This horse is big odds. It's $14 around that sort of quote. It was amazing finish, wasn't it?
Iconic.
This horse, the Parks track, a lot of horses don't like it. This horse has won 4 on the Parks track, so it gets a tick. It's a weight carrier. It's a really proven weight carrier. Its speed ratings are very similar, regardless if it's carrying 59 or 54 and a half. When you get a horse like that, I love them when they find a benchmark race and they're above the benchmark. They're prepared to carry the weight. They get the claim, but I love them above the benchmark, which is what happens here. It's won twice first up. Hasn't had a long break either for that middle distance horse.
So residual fitness.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope they press forward aggressively from that wide gate, because if they don't find the front, they'll put some tempo into the race. They can maybe slot in. At the odds, I think it's a great chance, great each-way chance. So Trumpster in race 6, and the third of them comes up in race number 8. It's a horse called 16 Reasons. Should be peaking here. It's about that. So it's almost sort of each way odds, $4.60 around the trap, something like that. It's third up. Its run last start was really good at Gawler. It chased home Clabell, which is the current favourite in this race. I don't think it'll jump favourite. I think 16 Reasons will jump favourite.
Right.
Meets it 3 kilos better, and I think it just stalked right in behind it in the run. Rochelle Milnes is riding well for an apprentice. Takes a couple of kilos off. Likes the Parks track. Likes the soft. It's a genuine tempo. The only negative is it will need a little bit of luck from that gate. But I think race 5, Supercilious, race 6, Trumpster, and race 8, 16 Reasons are a good start.
All right, well, they're the 3 selections for JJ for his SA set, and you can see them with the full screen graphic. Supercilious, Trumpster, and 16 Reasons. It's now time for Jules's big set.
All right, racing at Flemington headquarters. You do like this track. I know you like punting there. Have you found us a couple of winners, or maybe 3?
Yeah, I think I have. Maybe even 4. Well, it'll be 3 because they're in one race. But we'll start off for race 2 here. A horse called La Zebra. Now, it's had 3 goes this prep, and they've only been fair. If you look at the race book, you go, this horse is going no good. Like, as a 2-year-old, it won at Sandown, and then it won at Flemington by rolling to the front. Now, last start, it was behind speed and just never got out. But it's not its go anyway. So when it did get out, it's not as if it savaged the line and you went, it's the horse I want to be with.
That's what they're waiting for.
Correct. It just sort of grinded to the line. It was only fair. But now I think draws wide, so it gets across from that gate Damien Lane sticks, which is a positive. Second up, gets to 1,700 this distance range. I just think it controls it from the front. No worries in the soft, and I think it'll be really hard to run down. And I think the market really will trend towards it. So I'm keen. Race 2, number 2, La Zebra. Then we head to race 6, and I'm happy to play 2 horses here, but the first one's going to be number 4, Jetabil. It comes down from New South Wales. Again, sort of semi into the prep, but it comes off a really heavy track, and I've got it running second behind One Destiny, and it rated through the roof with me. And I just want to be with it because, yes, it's probably going to get wet track again. It's going to be first go straight, but I don't think horses really have an issue with that, to be honest. I think that's a poor excuse sometimes when, say, horses didn't get
the bend.
Correct.
Was it?
Exactly, yeah. And it's also looking for an easier race, possibly. So with Jetabil, and also in the same race 6, number 15, south of Houston. Thought it'd be south of Houston, but it's actually south of Houston.
I say Houston on principle.
Yeah, correct. So it's second up. First up was only plain again off about 189 days. But if you look through the video again, it was wide. First up, just didn't need that kind of run. Had a bit of time here. Drops in weight to 54.5 kilos. Jamie Carr goes on. Wet track form, won up the straight before. I think this sets up really well for south of Houston. It's around that $9 mark. Really keen to back it each way. And the last bet is race 8, number 6, Cadmus. Gets to 2,000 metres for the first time this prep. 1,800 last start. They're riding it for cover. So it's off 35 days, but it was off 28 days last start. So I've got no issue. And I think that's the best way for this horse to go through a prep. Last prep or 2 preps ago, won over 2,000 metres at Moonee Valley. I think they're just riding it with a little bit of a sit. That draw, I think, helps. And then it really accelerates. Big track horse, in my opinion. Cadmus for me. So they're the 4 selections for Jules's Vixet. All right, last week we had 4 horses on the graphic for the punters out there. 3 ran because Mr. Umbini was a scratching, and 100% record JJ that they all did what we thought they would do. They either firmed up and we said, snap them, take the price now. You're getting better than what the SP obviously eventuated. And the don't snap obviously drifted as well. So that's a positive sign. And that's probably what the key is for this segment, is we're just trying to tip the viewers into getting some price sensitivity around their horses and making the right decision. It's one thing to be able to find a winner, but you've got to try and add some more bang to your buck by getting the price at the right time.
People often look at that and think, but the horse won. It's not lay of the day. But we're picking horses that are hard in the market. We're not picking, this is 20 to 1, it should be 100s. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
It's got to be horses that are pointy. So they should be winning pretty often because they're going to be, favourite, second favourite, thereabouts. So last week was a good start. Hopefully we can do it again.
It was. Where do we start here? The question is, I should know that. And
I've got 2.
Yeah.
I've got 1 snap and 1 don't snap at Morphettville Parks. So I'll start with that.
Yeah,
race number 8, 16 Reasons is the first. This is a snap. I think this horse will shorten up. It's third up. I think it follows the current favourite in the race, Clabell. I mentioned, I think this might start favourite, 16 Reasons, but it likes the soft track. It likes Parks. It's third up. It's got the claim. It's ready to peak.
Yep.
It's about that sort of 460 quote. I don't think it'll drift. So 16 Reasons for me is a snap in race number 8. And a don't snap comes up in race number 6, a Victorian horse called Gornsky. I reckon it might just be that.
Yeah.
It gets buried from gate 1, which is a bit of a concern. It sort of form tapered off a bit last prep. It didn't have, I think the jockeys commented its last run might be time for a spell.
Okay.
Didn't have a spell, had to freshen up.
Right.
Not a long enough break for mine. It came back with a trial. It was under the pump in the trial. Like, I know sort of one-paced, sort of 1,500 metre horses, they're not going to look great in trials. But if you are under the pump to dash in a trial, generally if you're fresh into that trial, you should be, if anything, a little bit keener. It was very one pace. So I think 440 is a bad price, Gornsky. I'm happy to risk it.
Okay, the 2 that I have remembered were the 2 I also spoke about. So in race 2, La Zebra, it's around that $5. I think that's a snap for me. I think it's going to start probably closer to his 3 in front with Damien Lane. I think they roll forward, 4th up. I think it sets up really well. And in race 6, a horse called Barraquil, who we'll get to very shortly in another segment that we have here, JJ. But this horse has run 4 in a trot. It is its first prep, and it's been outstanding, to be honest. But now steps up in grade a little bit. 310. Now, early markets around at other joints are sort of $4.80 into that 310. We always talk about on a Saturday race day, there's sort of 2 sets of markets, one from Wednesday to Friday, and then Saturday when the professionals get involved, it sort of starts again. I just think that 310 is a little bit skinny. So if you like Barraquil, I know the damage has been done already and you can say, I've missed the boat. I still think you might get another opportunity about Barraquil because I think it'll drift from that $3.10. So they're our snaps or don't snaps. entire premise of this segment, JJ, is just for horses, for the punters out there to understand, these are horses that we've identified that could be anything in terms of the race. They set up really well, but the market could go either way with them. They could be absolutely off the map, hence why they could be really scary as Fox, or they could go the other way and actually start a really big price. And the key factor here is, I think the money's your best guide with these. So if these horses really firm up, you probably want to be with them, but there's no need to have the bet now. You just wait to the death, and the market will sort of tell us with these horses. And you can go off first because you've got one early doors, I think, at Morphettville Park.
Yeah, race number 2. This is an interesting horse because it's a 2-year-old taking on the older horses.
Yep.
Its last 2 runs have both been that 2-year-old grade. So how the market reacts to that is the first thing. It's got 54 kilos, which is a plus. It's got an inside gate, which I think is a plus. The reason I'm a little bit apprehensive about it is its first ever start was Maggie Collette. It did enough to hold off Mesraw, but it went around $126 and won the race. Its next start, they replaced Maggie Collette with Jake Toroke. Horse missed the kick, pulled the first 300 or 400, was really green and did a lot wrong. Hit the line really well, but I think the market thought Jake Toroke big plus, leading jockey in the state. Now gets Maggie Collette back. So you look at it and go, well, it's a green horse, did things wrong. How's he going to go with an apprentice? But at the same time, went well and was jumped, did everything right for the apprentice. First go. So it's a little bit of a trick to that. The other thing is the SP on debut was 126, so you query it. Was about a $5 SP last start and probably should have won. So now I look at it and go, oh, I'm happy to now disregard that SP and think this horse has got some ability. It's not an overly strong race. Currently about that 450 quote. This will either go one way or the other. Sort of horse I'll look at. I'm happy to back it, but I want to get a second opinion. I want the market to tell me it's go time. So I'm interested in it, but I just want to see what the market does. If it abandons it, so will I. If it's really solid, I have something on it.
That's really good, and that's perfect probably for a scary as Fox, to be honest. That's the perfect example. My two are a really interesting one. So there's a horse called Just Like Gabby, and you can hear that name and you go, oh, that's got to have something in relation to. It's obviously the daughter of Loving Gabby, who was an absolute superstar. So it's a first starter against some really good proven 2-year-olds who have done some massive numbers. Now it's around about $8, $9. If this horse was to firm right up, we know unraced 2-year-olds usually get in the bin anyway. The big professionals want to play with the stamped numbers. If this horse was to continue to firm up, then I think that screams that this horse has got more than enough ability to be able to win the race. Now, most likely you'd think it probably just holds its price or spits back out a little bit. That's what you'd think the market would do. But that's why that horse is scary as Fox for me in race 3, Just Like Gabby. And in the last race, there's a horse called Big Me, who comes from Hong Kong. Nick Ryan trains. There has been huge raps on this horse. Our mate Hutchie, who I'll be doing the review with on Monday. So I'm going to get to the bottom of this. It's been $9 into around $5 in that early market Wednesday, Thursday sort of price. Let's see what happens in the last 5 minutes. I think that's the most important, especially for these international horses. A lot of damage can be done early in the week. Let's see what happens in the last 5 minutes. If this continues to firm up and ends up starting 3 or 4, that's a solid push for this horse. But there is also the possibility the professionals take a big set against it and it gets back out to that $8, $9. So it's a traditional scary as Fox horse, the horse Big Me, and we're going to grill Hutchie about it on Monday. That is the scariest Fox horses. Well. Sometimes you play away and sometimes you get the job done. There's been plenty of conjecture here. But last week, we went across the border to South Australia. We played in his area, just where he wanted. He picked the horse, Rish Jamor. I selected $4. You selected $4.60. The PointsBet starting price was, bang on, my friends, $4. So in the tradition of pin the tail, what do I get, my friend?
No, I'm not happy. I'm not being gracious in defeat. I don't actually think I lost, which is why. But there's your can of Coke. Go a bit choke on it.
It's been shaken up too, but no doubt it's just like a rocket
not
in
around
there.
Me. Look, I think it was more like a dead heat. But anyway, you enjoyed that can.
Those away wins too. Those away wins, like in soccer, they're worth 2, I reckon.
Well,
so this is important. We will see how we go this week. So we're going to Flemington. We're going to race 6 and we're going to a horse called Barraquil, who's 4 from 4, all in the one prep. Current price $3.10, which is coming from about $4.80 Wednesday night into $3.10. I am going, and I think you get an opportunity here because I'm sort of taking a set against it, and I don't think the market will take as big a set as what I'm doing. But my predicted starting price for Barraquil is $4.80.
Well, I'm writing this down because you have been known to cheat.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, 480, fair enough.
Go on. What have you got for me?
I wish I'd looked at the wind before I put mine in, because I know it's going to be up on speed, it's probably going to lead, it's not going to have that cover.
Excuses,
so I'm already at a disadvantage.
No, well, through lack of ability.
Well, lack of preparation. It was wayward late last start.
Yeah.
And going to the straight, I know we talked about, is it a myth, but being that wayward, I think the straight's maybe going to be against it. It's probably, there's no stars in this race. It's also with good records, Jetabil, Legio 10, South of Houston, good records, but no superstars. I think it's still very short. It goes up in weight. It's hard to keep winning. It didn't rate that well last start. The first three rated well in week. Didn't rate that well last start. I've got it 380. I think it'll drift on it. Whoever's right, 310, I think we're both saying it's not a price to dive into.
100%. So 380 for JJ, 480 for me. Can he get his can back and get it square, or does the champ kick 2 away and you'd think it's probably over for the rest of the year? It's a long way back, you would have thought. All right, now, again, last week, we picked 2 horses, JJ. I picked Rezone in Caulfield. You picked Favourite Child at Murray Bridge.
Yep.
They both saluted, so that's a positive start for the plays of the day. This one, a little bit different for me. I'm going each way basis, and I think you might be as well. I'm going race 6, number 15, South of Houston, around that $9, $3 mark. I think we can back it each way, second up down the straight.
You're trying to get away from Barrack Hill, so makes sense you find that race. I've got one, I think after scratches it's trimmed up to just short of each way odds, but I think race 8, number 13, 16 Reasons. I think it'll start favourite, currently second pick behind Clabell. I think it's third up, it's ready to peak. I probably would love an extra 100 metres on the distance, but it likes the Parks track, it likes the soft.
16 Reasons for JJ, and I'm with South of Houston for our plays of the day. That was the show. It's all done. I'll enjoy my can. I'll see you next week. If you're going to have a punt, do it responsibly. Good luck. Get around PointsBet and have fun. Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.